The STEP trials, a series of global clinical studies testing semaglutide for obesity, showed massive weight loss results. When the data dropped, the medical community celebrated a scale of weight loss that had previously been unreachable without surgery. The chemical compound driving this trend is semaglutide. Semaglutide is a pharmaceutical medication originally developed for type 2 diabetes and now widely used for long-term weight management. It is most commonly delivered through a weekly injection. When study participants dropped 15 kilograms, the raw number on the scale suggested a total victory. But the tissue composition of that lost weight reveals a severe anomaly. Roughly 40% of the dropped weight was lean muscle tissue, not fat. Muscle is the active tissue that determines your metabolic health. It passively burns calories while you sleep and constantly absorbs glucose from your bloodstream to keep your blood sugar stable. Stripping 13 pounds of muscle from the human frame triggers a biological chain reaction. The body literally requires less fuel to exist, lowering your baseline daily energy expenditure. Celebrating scale weight reduction while ignoring massive lean tissue loss is a dangerous illusion. It hides a permanent biological downgrade behind a temporary cosmetic change. This compares the daily energy consumption of muscle versus fat. Muscle burns 6 to 7 calories daily, while fat burns 2 to 3. When a patient loses significant lean mass, their daily maintenance calories drop. The physical machinery required to burn calories is permanently reduced. Muscle also acts as the body's primary glucose disposal site. When you eat carbohydrates, muscle tissue steps in to absorb that glucose for use as energy. With less muscle available to absorb that energy, excess glucose circulates in the blood. This surplus demands higher insulin production, which aggressively stresses the pancreas over time. Many patients take these drugs to escape metabolic dysfunction, yet by losing the exact tissue responsible for processing glucose and burning calories, they manufacture the internal conditions that cause metabolic failure. This specific type of physical decay is called sarcopenic obesity. Sarcopenic obesity is characterized by the coexistence of excess fat mass and severely low muscle mass. Historically, doctors only saw this in elderly, sedentary populations. We are now inducing this exact state of physical wasting in young, healthy adults in the span of just 6 months. A 2024 study published in JAMA Network Open tracked over 4,000 patients. JAMA Network Open is a monthly open-access medical journal published by the American Medical Association. Data showed that users of GLP-1 drugs suffered a significantly lower muscle quality index than non-users. GLP-1 is a medication class that mimics a natural hormone to stimulate insulin and suppress appetite. This diagram shows a cross-section of the remaining muscle in those patients. The tissue was smaller, weaker, and heavily infiltrated with fat deposits. The medication works entirely through artificial appetite suppression. It fails to fix underlying eating patterns or repair the actual biological damage that led to the initial weight gain. Treating obesity by permanently destroying functional, calorie-burning tissue is an act of FDA-approved physiological vandalism. There is a legitimate medical threshold for these medications. For patients with a BMI over 40 or uncontrolled diabetes, the muscle loss is a manageable trade-off to prevent immediate organ failure. BMI, or body mass index, is a standard medical measure of body fat based on height and weight. But the target demographic has shifted. Relatively healthy individuals at 18% body fat are now using the medication purely to reach 12% for cosmetic optimization. For this group, the risk-benefit calculation flips entirely. They are accepting permanent pharmaceutical dependency in exchange for temporary aesthetic improvements. Eventually, the treatment stops. Users either hit their goal weight and quit, or they simply cannot sustain the $1,600 monthly out-of-pocket cost. This triggers a vicious biological rebound. The appetite returns immediately, but the body now has a much slower metabolism and significantly less muscle mass. Because the energy burn rate is broken, the regained weight is stored as pure fat. Cosmetic users ultimately pay to self-sabotage. They end up exactly back at their starting scale weight, but trapped in a biologically worse body composition than when they began. This manufactured biological dependency connects directly to the financial valuation of the drug's maker, Novo Nordisk. Novo Nordisk is a Danish multinational pharmaceutical company that recently exceeded a $500 billion European market cap, almost entirely on GLP-1 sales. They have built a perfect pharmaceutical business model. The treatment works only as long as it is actively consumed, and it guarantees that symptoms recur the moment the patient stops paying. The corporation is now funding new clinical trials to expand approved uses into sleep apnea and heart failure. This strategy aims to unlock wider insurance coverage and mandate mass dependency across larger populations. Modern dietary struggles are driven by laboratory-engineered hyperpalatable foods designed specifically to override our natural satiety signals. Historical human diets consisted of whole foods that naturally maintained fullness and preserved muscle mass without pharmaceutical intervention. The pharmaceutical industry ran a successful campaign to convince the public that raw scale weight loss is identical to holistic health. For the general population, chemical weight loss offers no cure. It is a meticulously engineered metabolic trap designed to convert healthy citizens into lifelong financial subscribers.